The Reverend Dr. Robert M. Franklin is the 10th president of Morehouse College. Previously, he served as a presidential distinguished professor of social ethics at Candler School of Theology, Emory University, and the president of Interdenominational Theological Center, both in Atlanta. He served as the program officer in the Human Rights and Social Justice program at the Ford Foundation. President Franklin serves on numerous boards, including the Character Education Partnership and Public Broadcasting of Atlanta. Currently, he is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Executive Committee of the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, the HBCU Capital Financing Advisory Board, and the Naval War College Board of Advisors. Franklin is the author of 3 books: Crisis in the Village, Restoring Hope in the African American Community, Another Day's Journey, Black Churches Confronting the American Crisis, and Liberating Visions, Human Fulfillment and Social Justice in African American Thought. A native of Chicago, Franklin was educated in Morgan Park High School, Morehouse College in 1975, Harvard Divinity School in 1978, and University of Chicago Divinity School in 1985. Dr. Franklin is married to Dr. Cheryl G. Franklin, a gynecologist, and is the proud father of 3 children. So if you will help, we'll welcome Dr. President Franklin.
I add my word of greeting to those you have heard all day, and I thank you for your presence here today. To Dr. Fluker and to Dr. Melvina King, to the extraordinary staff of the Leadership Center, to all of the team members of Morehouse College, to all the parents, family members, and friends of these extraordinary young men, welcome to Morehouse College. And to our sponsor, Ms. Ramos, thank you for and Coca-Cola, for your advocacy at Coca-Cola to endorse this important work to ensure continued investments in an extraordinary program. One of the things we love about Coca-Cola is constantly thinking about the future and about how we prepare communities to sustain human existence. And so on so many levels, not only from the perspective of nutrition, but also the human capital. And so Coca-Cola has invested in our young men. I'm very pleased that many Morehouse College students have been a part of this effort in nurturing and supporting the young men who participated, and many Morehouse College alumni. So all of you, we're delighted you're here. You're a part of this village. And my purpose is simply to extend my word of appreciation for your investing your time in this program this summer. You young men could have been engaged in other activities during these past days, but you have been a part of a life-changing experience. And you will hear momentarily from Dr. Fluker, one of the nation's leaders on ethical leadership, and you have experienced this extraordinary faculty and the mentors, and of course the wonderful energy and vision of Dr. Mel King. Now, we are in a room that we call at this college the African American Hall of Fame. You will see photographs of Martin Luther King and his life and his family, his time as a student here and at Crozer Seminary and Boston University. You will see he received a grade of C in public speaking at a certain institution. And so it reminds you that greatness can come even from modest beginnings. And so never give up on yourself simply because you have a weak start or a modest start. Think about what is possible. Because today in Washington, D.C., there is a monument that stands over 40 feet tall in honor of Martin Luther King, Jr. And you're in a place surrounded by art, in addition to the King memorabilia and photographs. A street artist by the name of Purvis Young from Miami, Florida, who died 2 years ago. The art that you see on either wall is a donation from the family that purchased and preserved Mr. Purvis Young's art. These pieces were displayed on the streets of Miami, on fences, so that people who drove by and rode by encountered the genius of an aging African-American man who reflected on the African diaspora. Black people in Africa, in Brazil, in Caribbean, and here in the United States, in rural communities and in urban communities. Whenever I stand in this space, I think about the faces. I think about the eyes that are watching. The reminder at Morehouse College, someone is watching you, and someone is expecting you to grow tall enough to wear the crown that Morehouse holds above the head of its students. I also want to say that this art reminds me of a moment in African American history. Many of you know it as the so-called Harlem Renaissance, a time when intelligent young men and women came together and brought their poetry and their lyrics and their artwork and their writings and their essays and their speeches, and they brought them together to improve the larger community. And soon a new movement was born known as the Harlem Renaissance. At Morehouse, we've been talking about a renaissance. How many of you know what that word renaissance means? It means, yes. Yes, if you will. A change for the better. And literally in French, it is a rebirth. Renaître is to be born again. Naître is birth. And so we are leading the rebirth and the renewal, the change for the better in our community by preparing young leaders. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that we have given shape to this by talking about each of our students. And even those who are not Morehouse students, but who participate in programs on this campus, being infused with the spirit of a Morehouse Renaissance and the 5 wells as we talk about them. We want each of you to aspire to be well-read, not simply to read the topics that interest you, but have a broad mind, to read widely, to bring curiosity to all fields of knowledge, so that you will know something of physics, and of finance, and of poetry, and of philosophy. Read broadly, young men. Read broadly for the rest of this summer as you go forward. Secondly, to be well-spoken. Have something to say and say it well. And as Morehouse, we encourage young men. The provost, Dr. Willis Sheptall, is standing in the back of the room and will affirm the importance of, first of all, reading and having something to say before you open your mouth and begin opining. Okay? So know that you have a message, you have a contribution to make. And then remember the 3 B's. Be good, be brief, and be seated. Well spoken. Third, well traveled. Some of you have traveled to Atlanta from other parts of this country to be part of this wonderful experience. But we expect you to venture out into the world and to see all of this world. You should plan to visit China and Africa, visit Antarctica and South America, visit Europe and the rest of North America. Venture out and travel broadly so that you have a perspective. Mark Twain said, travel is fatal to prejudice. So people who are prejudiced often are folks who have never traveled. And as one Ghanaian author put it, never declare that your mother's stew is the best in the world if you have never left your village. So travel. Push away from the familiar shores. Well traveled, well read, well spoken, well traveled, well dressed. Well, you are evidence of that today. You've gotten that message. You look very smart, and we're proud of each and every one of you. But always remember, before you open your mouth, before people encounter your genius, they see you coming. And they're making blink, snap decisions and judgments about what you can offer to the enterprise based on how you look. And so think about that. Think about that as you make judgments about how you show up in the world each day. How you show up in the world each day. Well-read, well-spoken, well-traveled, well-dressed, and well-balanced. Balance is the ongoing lifetime commitment to ensuring that we have healthy minds and healthy bodies governed by healthy values. And so, gentlemen, we leave this vision of renaissance and renewal. You carry the 5 wills within you. You are already a leader because you are saying to people around you who do not yet aspire to those traits, there's something that they need to do to become better, to improve the world, to improve themselves. And so we look forward to the ongoing relationship with you. Congratulations on your summer experience. Morehouse College is proud of each of you, and we expect great things from each of you. Carry on, gentlemen.